Survival Mode Disrupted, the podcast for those who are done performing, done people pleasing, and done living life on autopilot. I'm your host, Letitia, the Survival Mode Disruptor, and this is where we create disruptive, unapologetic transformations for those who are ready to exit survival mode and reclaim their power. Every episode is your permission slip to burn the rule book, break the cycle, and finally build a life that feels like yours. So let's disrupt everything that's holding you back and start living life on your own terms. This is your trigger warning. This podcast is raw. It is real and it doesn't sugarcoat what it means to survive trauma, abuse, mental health battles, or even the aftermath of living in survival mode for too damn long. What you hear on Survival Mode Disrupted includes unfiltered stories, graphic details, and a vulnerable truth that may trigger some of the audience. Please prioritize your emotional safety. If something feels too heavy, pause, breathe, come back when you're ready or not at all. Your healing is yours to honor. These episodes are based on lived experience, not therapy sessions or clinical advice. Listening does not replace mental health treatment or constitute a coach client relationship. If you're in crisis, please seek immediate help from a licensed professional or contact your local emergency services. This space is built with care, but it's also built for truth and built for disruption. Take what you need, leave the rest, and most of all, trust yourself. If this podcast speaks to your soul, you don't have to do this work alone. Feel free to join our free Facebook community for high achieving women ready to break cycles and heal out loud. Join us at Disrupting Survival Mode on Facebook, or grab the book that started this movement, Exiting Survival Mode, a raw step by step guide to help you identify, release, and rebuild from the survival patterns that have been keeping you stuck. Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Survival Mode Disrupted. I am your host, Letitia, the Survival Mode Disruptor, and today we have Tracy with us. So, Tracy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Tracy. I'm from the United States. Presently I live in Southwest Florida, and I have been a psychic, a medium, and a medical intuitive since the age of 4.
Ooh, interesting. How would you describe survival mode, Tracy?
To me, survival mode is learning how to guard ourselves, learning how to guard our souls, learning how to guard our spirit, to be in the best that we know how to protect ourselves for ourselves. Whether it's blocking an event out, whether it's absorbing the event, and usually for survival mode, I believe that we go into a past event that strikes that same survival technique in us. It's a learned behavior. It's not a natural behavior. And I know people believe that it's natural when you go back to the hunting and the gathering, but I believe by what I've been shown in my life that we are born in this world of love, of gratitude, of pure self, of our nuances coming into the world are not controlled. It's just a free giving love. We are taught the boundaries. We are taught the no. We are taught survival. That's not a natural progression for us. And after you're told no, no, no enough, that then becomes the trigger of our trauma and our survival in ourselves and what we will DNA it or what we will call it forever in our lives in this lifetime.
Mhm.
Other lifetimes, it's other things that we survive from. But in our present lifetime, it's a negative event that we've labeled and there's a payoff to it. And then we usually will call that trauma. Or someone will tell us that's what it is, and then we buy into it. I don't believe growing up from the 60s, trauma was even a word. It was just, or survival was a word. It was just your way of life, learning how to navigate and to be alive long enough to make it through to the next round. But I feel that we've encompassed so much into negative past events in our lives that we find a payoff, we find a way for that to define who we are instead of the attributes we bring to the table in life in a positive way.
I received that. So tell us your story to and through survival mode.
I was born into the early 60s, and I did not know that when someone touches your body and they're older than you, no matter where they touch you, that's wrong. I did not know that eating in the bathroom was not appropriate and not being able to eat at the kitchen table with everybody else. I did not understand that when you're awoken at 4 or 3 in the morning to iron someone's underwear and their handkerchiefs, that everybody else didn't do that. I did not know what the word abuse, physical, mental, spiritual, was at any age until when I was old enough. I started talking to God because I had so much time that I just sat in my room at such a young age. Being alone, it allowed me time and space to be that unique human being that God brought me here to be. So all of the events that were in my life became a pattern. All those negative events, because when I grew up, as I kept growing older, I kept thinking, well, that man can touch me any way he wanted because my uncle did, my brother did, my grandma's cousin did. I guess I'm supposed to be that way. I didn't know that kids actually get tucked into bed at night and they're told a story because it never happened to me. You find out by relating to others what you don't know to then find out what you do know may be not natural. And so that allowed me, the things I didn't know allowed me to go to the safe place that I did know, which was hearing those on the other side that have passed away that little kids do know how to hear. It was also seeing things that nobody else could see. And it was talking actually to a source that I called God that I thought everybody else did. And so with that, my differences, I thought everybody else had the same differences. And as I grew older, I realized that they didn't, that my differences were called gifts and calling. And so I've used all of those things to be able to help others and not own it and find. And the other thing I figured out at a young age was the things that happen to us in survival mode that have to do with somebody else. Sometimes it's not about us. Sometimes I believe that source or God or the universe, whatever people call it, are putting us in front of that person for that event or that trauma or that surviving, not for us, because God already knows we can survive it. For them, we're the teacher and they're the student. We're not always there to learn something. Sometimes we're there to teach something. And that's what all of this has taught me through my life. It also taught me, really important, Letitia, we don't need to use the word victim. We own that word. For some reason, it makes us feel powerful. What we need to do is understand that it's just the story of our lives. And we can move forward from it. We can sit in it, or we don't have to even acknowledge it. But to say that you're a victim gives that other person, place, or thing power that they only had this much power over, very little, because it was a moment in time. We're giving them all the time in our moments. I wouldn't give my power away to anybody. I give my strength and my source to people because God navigated me to walk through it, but I don't need to give it up to anybody. And I also feel that those that have done harm to somebody will meet with God, and God knows who he protects because we're still here. That person's ascended. I let God take care of those issues. I don't even give it time to harm them.
You raise a very interesting point around the victim element. And we, as society, celebrate surviving atrocious things, but we also celebrate someone who kind of stays stuck. And I don't think people recognize that, right? Like, oftentimes I heard people say, well, I survived, as if
Yeah.
it's the final destination. No, darling. Survival isn't the final destination. Survival is the rest stop on to the next part of your journey. And for
Amen.
me, even for me, I was a person that went through a lot in my early years. I was
Mhm.
molested. I had issues with my parents. And I was groomed and entered into a relationship at 14, and I was abused heavily in that relationship. So by the time I'm in my 20s and I'm in the process of learning who I am, I immediately assigned victim to my description because that's all I knew to be true. And it took probably another 10 years for me to recognize how much of my power I was giving away by sitting on victim lane. And I mean, when I sat on victim lane, I set up shop on victim lane. I built a 6-bedroom house on victim lane. Okay. And but I celebrated that because for me, I got through it.
Yes.
But it was this umbrella of chaos that I carried as a result of the experiences that I have. And whenever I talk about my healing journey, I always mention that because I was working with a coach who basically called me out. She was like, oh, you just love being a victim. And I was just like, well, I am. She goes, are you? Is that who you really are? And it was in that moment of learning how much power I was giving away that I took ownership of my life. But it's something that we don't talk about enough, right? Like, this is one of the reasons why I have this podcast. We don't talk about the residual impact of trauma. We don't talk about what it takes to move beyond survival, because in some instances, there is more power with us being a victim,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yep.
than it is by taking control of our lives, taking ownership of our lives, and doing what we need to do to move forward. And somebody might be listening and say, what you mean there's more power in being a victim? More people benefit from us not having control of our lives, or
Mhm.
believing that we can't have control of our lives because
Mhm.
of what we've been through.
The other thing is, whatever the story is of your life, it got you where you are now. And in your story of your life, you're now helping people learn about their story of their life. So God chose you to walk through each and every event that you did. He brushed you off. He found your spirit. He embraced you. You embraced yourself to say, this is my soul. I don't have to own what others have done to me. I have to own who I am just to keep going in my story to write more about who I am.
Mhm. I agree
You
with you
know,
100% with that.
and we don't need to be the victim, and we could be the survivor. At an early age, I became 400 pounds. At an early age, I was a mom. At an early, I mean early, At an early age, I donated a kidney to my dad in the 90s when it was pretty experimental. It was mostly cadavers. I lost him the following year on my birthday, and his last words to me were, Trace, no one's going to love you because you're 400 plus pounds. Lose the weight, do it for me. And he died on my birthday. I then went on the journey to correct the all of the power I gave up and the encompassing of weight so that nobody needed to get to know me and love me. And most of all, I didn't need to love myself. When
Mhm.
I decided I was worthy of every single being that God decided to put me here to do, I got rid of the weight. I got rid of the abusive husband. I got rid of the patterns that held me hostage. I even chose to get rid of the family members who didn't serve me because I realized my karma, my relationship with them is done when I decide I want to be healthy. And then I decided I wanted to find hobbies. I wanted to sing again. I wanted to praise God and do his work. No matter how I got ridiculed, I was going to move forward and not let all of my past and my life, as far as that took me, define who I was. The forward motion of who I want to celebrate is going to define who I am.
Mhm. And
And
I
I,
can relate that. I can relate to that so much. I was almost 400 pounds at one point in time too. And I have underlying health conditions, which I had
Mhm,
chalked up to that's why I'm so big. But there was this reconciliation of how unhappy I was in my life. And I used food
mhm,
as a way to soothe me. And it wasn't until I saw that, yes, I still have those underlying conditions, right?
mhm.
Still there and they still impact my health. However, it wasn't until I took control of my life, I took ownership of my life until I learned how to love me for who I was. This level of acceptance that, a lot of people resist acceptance because they think it means condonment. But it was this level of acceptance that allowed me to move forward. And I did very little to drop the weight. It was, to me, a mental shift, right? And part of my healing process. Now I'm in a place where, okay, now I see that what's going on is the medical stuff, but I'm not 400 pounds anymore. And I can manage my weight differently because I worked on the subconscious things that were holding me back. So, a lot of times we we per we personify our
Mhm.
trauma. We
Yes.
don't recognize that, right? And then,
Yeah.
all elements of our lives start feeling heavy and
Yeah.
displaced, but it's
Yeah.
because of the narratives that we hold, and you spoke about that, right? Whenever I talk about accident survival mode, I say it happens in three phases. First is self-awareness. We can't
Mhm,
change what we can't see. The second is reprogramming,
mhm.
challenging the narratives, challenging the beliefs,
Sure.
challenging the conditioning that got us into that space in the first
Right.
place. And then
Right.
there's this reinvention, being able to take our power back, to own who we are from
Uh-huh.
from from a definition that isn't assigned to us by other people. And in that journey, like, I learned so much about myself. I was able to accept myself, which I think released a lot of that emotional baggage that was literally represented in my body.
So, Letitia, I'm going to say to you, as I would say to myself, I look myself in the mirror a lot and talk. I believe that every single moment that was negative in your life or your listeners' lives or my life, we hold on to it because there's a payoff. And then we replay it. And then we replay it again till it gets worse and worse. The person or the event that happened to us, whether we got in a car accident, whether we were molested, whether we were raped, that person only utilized us in the moment. They didn't feel us. It wasn't emotional to them. It fed an illness or an event that they had a pattern with. We were just the party to it, but our strength should allow us not to let them take our souls from us because they did the event to others. So we take it personal as trauma. We take it personal as we're the survivor. We take it personal as we're the victim. We're not. They've done it to other people, but we're giving it so much space that we can't move on from anything. I will work with people that they come to me for counseling and relationships. I can't find a man. I want to find a man. I can't find a man. My husband did this to me. Oh my God, he cheated on me. Blah, 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 blah. And it goes on and on and on down the rabbit hole. It's not me, it's everybody. How long you been divorced? Oh, about 35 years. Are you kidding me? You're still talking as though it was yesterday. That's the power you've given the last 35 years of your life to a person who gives two shits about you. They've already moved on. That's what we do in trauma and in victimization. Truly.
Absolutely. And I don't know how familiar you are with the four agreements, but one of them is people don't do things to you, people just do things. And that is an awakening because oftentimes we again personify events as if it was about us and it really is about the other person not being able to navigate their own shit, you know what I mean? And you just happen to get sucked into the vortex at that point in time. But as you stated, a lot of times other people have been affected too, so it can't just be about you. But it's being able to recognize the lies that the ego tells us, right?
Yes. Bingo. Bingo.
Yeah.
Even the lady that goes into the same relationship or the man that goes to the same type of woman, we also do that because the trauma is familiar to us and there's a payoff. That's what trauma and that's what being negative and that's what all of the victimization is about. The payoff we feel is comfortable.
Hmm.
Although it's negative, it's comfortable.
And, and,
Change,
and
change in choice is never comfortable.
exactly. And oftentimes, right, the reason why we hold on to these victim hats is because it makes us feel better, right? Like we get so much attention by being a
Oh,
victim.
oh yeah.
And a lot of times the reason why we end up in these places because we are looking for attention, right? So if everybody feels sorry for me, if everybody gets a piece of my story and gives me some attention, we get addicted to that. Just like we
That's
get
social
addicted to
media.
the chaos. So and you know, as someone who works with people, one of the things that I really spend time trying to interact with people with is examining how married to their narrative they are. Some people are so married and intertwined with their narrative that healing, they're not ready for it. And it's okay. Everything comes in time. But then you are in a place where you are ready for healing and committed to healing, and then you look back at your narratives, sometimes they're almost shocking, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's that payoff that you're talking about, right? Like I got a benefit from this, which is why I stayed in it so long, you know. And then you talked about change, right? Like the change only occurs when our willingness to change, it supersedes our willingness to remain the same. And
Amen.
oftentimes we believe that we're ready to change, but again, we're married to our story. We're married to the outcome. We're married to the payoff that you mentioned. And that marrying and holding so steadfast in the
Yep.
narratives is why we cannot and will not move beyond it.
Sister, I can't even tell you how we are the same cloth. But I also will say the more people swipe on social media, no matter what it is, they stop not at the good stuff, they stop at the bad stuff. And then they identify with it. And then they go into the comments, oh, that's me. Oh, I feel you. Oh, I am you. How many times am I at the emergency room and I'm seeing people take selfies of themselves? Why? 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 Oh, they just put the IV in me. Oh, look at my foot. Oh, look at my leg. Oh, I'm in ICU. I wouldn't want nobody, and I still want nobody to know when I'm ill. That's private. We've allowed our everything negative in our lives to be a world event so that we can trump the next guy's their event. Well, mine is worse than yours. We are so conditioned for a negative outcome that what has happened, and this is self-created.
Hmm.
And then
I agree with you.
then they say, I need to find someone so I can work on myself. If I don't hear that 1,000 times a day with a client, you know what? People, you will work until the day you ascend back to heaven. And at that moment, you will meet with God and all your angels, and he'll say, did you get the bad right? Did you get the right wrong? Because that's all I wanted you to do. I wanted you to experience everything and be open and learn. That's called life.
Absolutely. And there are so many lessons. Also, we get boggled down by our experiences without recognizing that there are lessons in everything. I remember back in, it had to be like 2000, I was introduced to a book called The Value of the Valley by Ian Levin Dent. It talked about how everything that we experience is an opportunity for us to learn and grow and to edify ourselves. But because people miss that piece, right? They go into, oh gosh, this is happening to me, not
Yes.
recognizing that it's happening for you. Everything that we go through is teaching us what we need to know for the next step or leg in the journey. And the reason why we get stuck is because we don't learn the lesson. So, life, the universe, God, whatever you
Mm-hmm.
call it, it
Yep.
will teach us again and
Yep.
again and
Until we get
again
it.
until we get it. And it's just like school. Everything that we go through is the final exam to the next step. And if we look at it from that, if we go into things instead of saying, why is this happening? And we go into it like, what can I learn from this? What is it teaching me? And then you can shift that perspective. You will find that you won't be in these repetitive cycles because you are extrapolating the
Yep.
lesson,
Yep.
extrapolating the
Yep.
growth, extrapolating the edification so that you can move
100%.
forward.
100%. The other thing I tell my clients is if you don't have the bad, you'll never celebrate the good. And in the bad, believe it or not, that's when human beings are only finding faith. God, if you just let this happen, I promise you, I will. Da-da. God, why are you doing this to me again? Da-da, da-da. God, I don't believe in you now because they died. Da-da, da-da. You know what? In those moments, we should be saying, thank you, God. I hear you. I feel you. I feel myself. I now know what faith means to me at this moment. Thank you, God. And when the good comes, I won't celebrate that as much, but I'm going to celebrate where I am now because you've put your energy and the universe around me. I can do this. I'm strong and I'm willing and I'm able. That's the work we do until we pass.
That's life. And it's sometimes it takes us 40 to 60 years to recognize it.
Or we recognize it when we're your daughter's age and
Yes,
we embrace it. And
yes.
then we say, wherever I go, God, come with me because I love the feeling of what you bring to me. And I know that I'm protected because I feel you since this big. I know you're there. And that's trust. That's trust in yourself and the universe. And I think
Absolutely.
hopefully, our younger generations will learn that because we've unlearned that. That's how we become prey victims. That's why trauma and fear overcome faith. So we
Absolutely.
wired our brains. And again, it's the payoff.
Absolutely. Wow, Tracy, I really enjoyed this conversation.
And I know we're sisters from another place. Even
Absolutely.
the glasses.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how you work with clients and how we can find you online.
Absolutely. I have been doing this professionally since the age of 17. And you can find me, they book through my website, and I am international, just so that they're aware. My website is TRACY hyphen or dash, whatever you believe it that line to be. My last name, Turner, TURNER.com. On Wednesday nights on Instagram, I do a live most of the times, and it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. So, like right now, it's what time your time?
It's 7:40
It's 2:40.
EST. Yeah.
Yes, it's 2:40 in the afternoon, my time. On Instagram, I have many Instagrams, but they need to follow Tracy Turner Psychic Medium on Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock my time. If they follow me, I do free readings and they type the reading and I give them the answer. That's how hard that is. If they want to come live with me, they push the little camera in the plus. I've been doing that about 7 years to just debunk what a psychic and a medium is for community. And they type the questions and I go to heaven and talk to those that are on the other side or answer questions they have here. I do it verbally, but they do it typing. I do that for about an hour. I do Zoom. Obviously, if you're not in Florida and you want a private session with me, I do phone. I do WhatsApp for some people that are in other countries. And I do in person if you should be in Florida.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we'll make sure that information is in the show notes. So before we wrap it all up, Tracy, what is one key takeaway that you have for the audience to action?
Your life is your story. Know that you don't have to sit in the past because anything from 11:59 yesterday is now the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can purge and you can clean and you can deprogram yourself. You have to want it. You have to want to say, I choose to live the life God brought me here to live. I don't need to be the victim. And 11:59 p.m. is yesterday. Today is a brand new day, and I wish to live it in the best of my ability, to my highest and best good, and allow the past to be the door that you choose to shut. We're all here for specific things. Our job really is to move every day the best we can with what we have to work with. If you seek someone's guidance, then utilize the space that they've given you and their time to make your life better, or choose not to. But you've got to stop blaming the world for your shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Absolutely. Blame is blame is a drug that we get
It is.
addicted to. So Tracy, thank you so much for your time on Survival Mode Disrupted. Audience, make sure you connect with Tracy and thank you for catching another episode. And I just want to remind you, you will not build to break, but you damn sure will not build to just survive. Disrupt the cycle, reclaim your life, and thrive on your own terms. And I will see you next week. Once again, thank you for joining another episode of Survival Mode Disrupted, hosted by the Survival Mode Disruptor, Letitia. You didn't land here by accident. This conversation, it probably cracked something open on purpose because survival mode isn't just a phase, it's a pattern, an identity, a prison masked as strength. But here's the truth: you're not broken, you're just unfinished. So if something stirred in you today, don't ignore it, don't numb it, move with it. And I want to once again invite you to join Disrupting Survival Mode, the Facebook community where healing is loud and messy and real. I also want to invite you to buy my book, The Survival Mode Exit Plan, because your breakthrough deserves a blueprint. And if you felt seen today, be sure to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Like, subscribe, and drop a review. That's how we amplify the voices that need to be heard. And remember, this isn't about fixing yourself. This is about finding yourself again beneath the rubble. Until next time, choose ease, choose power, choose you. This is Survival Mode Disrupted. Let's keep shaking shit up.